Yang ji jimbur zirdan nimi zhang zone munum jimbur nga gyata bakar tarngan zanto shirmarto. Tumba dirje janla ki sham tsar mechan rawar saringi zhang kamsa jagar tukji shanla yilarma. Jime panzo jala sara de gongje topan pawar shinji lo, gongje topan pawar shinji lo, gongje topan pawar shinji.
The Dharma, infinitely profound and subtle, is rarely encountered in eons. Now we can hear and follow it. May we realize the Tathagata's meaning. In order to liberate all sentient beings, please generate bodhicitta before today's teaching. First, let me just say something. One important thing to consider is that when we are in the process of giving a lecture, it is generally best practice that once the subsequent recitation period has officially started, it's highly advisable to ensure the door is securely closed. This is primarily because, much like the situation with an aircraft, once the main door of an airplane is firmly sealed and locked, it becomes exceedingly difficult for anyone to gain entry. It's precisely the same situation with trains. If you consistently arrive late, that really shouldn't be happening. If you genuinely wish to listen and engage, then please do come and join us. If you truly do not wish to listen, then please do not come. You absolutely need to develop a much stronger sense of time and punctuality. Let me talk about a few things here. The first thing is about next week's classes coming up soon. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday are scheduled. Originally, there was no class scheduled for Wednesday at all. Now, this has been changed completely today. As I mentioned at the very beginning, in that case, just a few things to consider. Next week, classes will be held on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. There will be 4 consecutive days of classes in a row next week. There is no class on Monday at all. That's one important thing to note clearly. Also, as for how much we can cover this year ahead of us together, I also mentioned in the last class as well. However, it's still undecided. Actually, I originally wanted to go a little bit faster, just like some of you were thinking. If we cover it in just a few days, then the transmission would also be very quick. But in that case, I don't know if it would be beneficial. Moreover, this is also my first time teaching the Sutra of Great Liberation. Perhaps for many of you, this is also your first time hearing it. It might also be the last time I teach it, and it might be the last time you hear it as well. This includes some of the Buddha names and such. Originally, I thought I would just recite them directly. Now, among the 3 times Buddhas that we are discussing here in this particular context, the first is the Buddhas of the past. As for the Buddhas of the past times long ago, there are more than 180 of them in total. Then, for the present Buddhas here and now, there are 97 altogether. There are 41 future Buddhas. If I were to talk about each and every one of these, it might indeed be a bit difficult, but later I thoughtfully considered if there are some core principles I can clearly explain, I can certainly also explain them to everyone present. In that particular case, it might actually take a little bit more time. It might not be fully finished within this current year. I just wanted to let everyone know about this. In addition, I usually have a lot of things to handle here. In principle, I really wish that apart from teaching, I wouldn't participate in or take care of anything else. But sometimes it's not as simple as I imagine. There are indeed some things that truly need to be carefully handled. So I also work very diligently at it. As for these weekly classes that are happening now, I still genuinely feel that in a very real and certain sense, I personally put in a significant amount of effort myself. Wouldn't you agree? Here, including some Khenpos and Khenmos, are indeed very steady and reliable when it comes to teaching the Dharma. On this point, I truly have to praise them here, indeed. Otherwise, nowadays, many Dharma teachers seem to get a little bit of fame for themselves, And once they have a few disciples, they become very restless and can't settle their minds. There are people, no classes today, and no classes tomorrow either. Then for those who are seeking to learn, this is a significant gap. But here, basically, unless someone is seriously ill or truly cannot come because of the ongoing global pandemic, except everyone here now, or because their parents have passed away, except for these particular kinds of situations, it is almost universally true that no matter what I do, the act of leaving or delaying is an exceptionally rare occurrence. Therefore, I should also endeavor to learn from and embody their diligent and persistent spirit. His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok also said before, as a Dharma master and the most important energy and interest, should be in terms of preaching, this particular aspect is also profoundly meaningful and significant to themselves and feel life is meaningful. Before in our Larunga, some Khenpos and Khenmos who have graduated at that time, I thought going out might lead to great success. But in the end, the sentient beings turned out to be like the sons of barren women or turtle hair and rabbit horns, things that don't exist. Gradually, due to external influences, maybe after a certain period of time, they lost the motivation to teach the Dharma, the motivation to listen, contemplate, and practice. Actually, we ordinary people are quite pitiable. We really need to have a truly good teacher or a supportive and enriching environment. If we actually lose that, at most we can realistically only maintain ourselves for a period of a year or two at best. Oh, I must, from now on, always practice for life, keep the precepts for life, do everything for life. But don't even talk about a lifetime. Even half a lifetime might not be truly possible. So in the future, everyone should indeed rely on the environment, rely on good spiritual friends, and the Sangha, the community of practitioners. These kinds of conditions are truly very important. The power of the good roots of ordinary people is very weak. On top of that, they have especially many obstacles and demonic hindrances. Because of these reasons, things may not necessarily have a good beginning and a good end. That's one aspect. Then the second aspect, today, in a little while, after we finish reciting the King of Aspiration prayers for anyone who has received an empowerment, I will then recite a complete transmission of the profound Vajrakilaya sadhana. If you haven't received any tantric empowerment, then listening to it probably won't mean much to you. It's not necessary for you to listen either, because although this is not the unsurpassed great perfection, it still involves certain stages of generation and completion. If you haven't received it after reciting the King of Aspiration prayers, you can go home and rest. It's the same in other places also. After reciting the King of Aspiration prayers with devotion, you can leave for the day. Fine then. If you have received tantric empowerments, Vajrakilaya empowerment from His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche himself before, that is the transmission of the sacred Vajrakilaya Phurba transmission, I can also recite it once for everyone. This transmission will be given after we finish reciting the King of Aspiration prayers. Now let's further continue with our important teaching on the profound Sutra of Great Liberation today. As everyone knows from before, the Buddha has already turned the wheel of Dharma of the three vehicles for these bodhisattvas and the various spirits from all directions. He has already turned the wheel of the Dharma of the three vehicles. Among them, many individuals have already attained a state of profound liberation. At that significant time, some of the benevolent spirits also made a solemn promise to protect those devoted individuals who show deep respect and reverence for this sacred scripture, and to punish those who are blatantly disrespectful or disregard its teachings. This was also mentioned earlier. Among his assembly, there was also a bodhisattva named Bodhisattva Faith in Signs, Faith Aspect Bodhisattva. Bodhisattva Faith in Signs in front of the Buddha told the story of the Jalavahana. The Buddha's name has especially great merit. Could the Buddha, for us sentient beings, for all the people of future generations, also speak of such important things, just as previously the recitation of the sacred name of Buddha Ratnashikin 3 times was specifically mentioned to the sentient beings, and so many fish attain profound liberation. The immeasurable merit of invoking the Buddha's sacred name is truly especially great. Could the Buddha, including you, the revered Shakyamuni Buddha, as well as the sacred names of all the Buddhas of the past, present, and future 3 times, could you tell us about them? If you do, then with such causes and conditions you will certainly achieve your desired outcome. Even sentient beings in this world with heavy karmic obstacles, such as those who have broken the fundamental precepts, or those with deep afflictions and severe suffering, these people would also attain liberation. Yesterday, the Venerable Bodhisattva Faith in Signs profoundly inquired about these significant matters. Next, let us further continue discussing how the Buddha graciously responded to him. At that time, the Buddha, addressing the great Bodhisattva Faith in Signs with great wisdom and compassion, the Buddha said, "Son of the lineage, if I were to extensively speak about the names of all the Buddhas of the 10 directions, including those we mentioned earlier, up to the names of the Buddhas of the 10 directions, or as the Buddha will say below, the names of all the Buddhas of the 3 times in the 10 directions. If I were to explain them all here in really great detail, even after speaking for hundreds of thousands of millions of kalpas, I would not be able to finish. There are just so many. Even the Buddha could not finish speaking about them in hundreds of thousands of millions of kalpas, let alone anyone else. Next, this profound principle will be thoroughly explained using 10 illustrative analogies. The sacred names of the Buddhas are also truly countless and utterly boundless. So what is it like here? An analogy is given. The very first analogy, all of the water in the entire world. If it were turned into a single drop, just one drop, the number of those drops could actually potentially be accurately and precisely calculated by us. However, there is truly no one who can, at this moment, calculate the total number of names of all the Buddhas of the 3 times in the world. No one can truly count exactly how many there are in total right now. No one can possibly know all the names or titles of all the Buddhas perfectly and completely. That is the first analogy. As for the second one, in this great trichiliocosm of ours, there are many Mount Sumerus, the kings of mountains. All of these Mount Sumerus, their physical weight can be accurately measured and precisely known by carefully weighing them. This method of measurement is indeed also possible. However, in reality, there is truly no one who can definitively know the exact and comprehensive number of the Buddha's numerous names and sacred titles. So this is the second analogy. As for the third point, the earth in this particular world, if all of its vast expanse were turned into incredibly tiny minuscule particles of dust, the sheer number of these countless dust particles could also be precisely calculated, but there is absolutely no one who can truly know or comprehend the number of names of all the Buddhas of the 3 times in the world. This too is impossible. As for the final analogy here today, the divisions of space in our world right now, when it comes to worlds, many ancient texts refer to divisions very clearly, the divisions of space itself entirely, whether it's the space within each world or within some small, intricate objects, the precise divisions of space that they meticulously contain. Their clearly defined boundaries can also be thoroughly known and understood. But what is it truly that no one can ever fully know or comprehend? The immense number of names of all the Buddhas of the 3 times. Here 4 inconceivable hypothetical analogies are thoughtfully used. Of course, these are also just hypothetical analogies, merely illustrative examples. Otherwise, in reality, in our world, is there truly anyone who can, for example, determine the divisions of space? How wide or how long they are? That's also impossible. If the entire Earth were reduced to the number of fine dust particles, is there really anyone who could count them? There really isn't. This includes Mount Sumeru, or the water on top of it. All of these, one by one, is there truly anyone who can precisely calculate each and every single atom of them? In reality, there simply isn't. But this analogy here before us today, in fact, carries a truly inconceivable meaning deep within itself, completely. It is meant to express something truly inconceivable and profound beyond words. Suppose in this world right now itself, such a thing were to happen, it would still be impossible. It's just like when we talk about karma and its profound effects. Some ancient Buddhist scriptures say, suppose fire were to become utterly cold, or the powerful wind could truly be tied up and carried away by a strong rope, or the sun and moon could fall to the ground. Even if such things were possible, the law of cause and effect would never be exhausted or invalidated. There are such scriptural teachings, aren't there? So, whether or not the sun and moon actually fall from their celestial positions, or fire truly and genuinely turns into water, or if someone could really truly carry away the wind, does this ever happen? Actually, it does not. This might just be a special kind of analogy or usage in Buddhism, a unique metaphor and way of expression. This is something everyone should understand as well. Whenever we study any kind of knowledge, we need to truly immerse ourselves in its unique way of thinking. For example, if you want to study astronomy or geography, each one possesses its own unique philosophical style and approach.
if you want to study something worldly. For example, consider horror movies or perhaps romance novels. For instance, each genre truly has its own distinct set of established rules. Within those rules, some things are based on real people and real events, things that actually happened, but some things, whether through the author or through certain metaphors or personification, or through various poetic techniques and styles. So when it comes to Buddhist scriptures, are they actually exaggerations or are they using personification? That's not necessarily the case. No matter what, whenever we study any dharma or learn any kind of knowledge, first we should deeply immerse ourselves in the underlying ideas. Only in this way can we truly reach a profound understanding, ultimately the profound states described within. Otherwise, some people don't even get close to understanding, but they immediately start to slander and spread false rumors and accusations and begin to make all sorts of unreasonable criticisms. Such an attitude is unacceptable in any field of literature. It simply cannot be accepted at all under any circumstances. So sometimes these metaphors may seem rather quite unimaginable at first glance indeed, but sometimes when we carefully compare this to other various different types of knowledge in the world, we find a very similar phenomena as well. At that point, it then becomes much easier for you to truly accept. Now, these four metaphors are also prominently cited in the sacred Sutra of Golden Light. The specific way the metaphors and wording are thoughtfully used there is basically the very same thing. It truly seems that the primary focus there is on certain specific merits, though I don't remember it very clearly at this particular moment. Here, the main and central topic being discussed is the immense number of Buddha names, and more specifically, it is primarily about this profound metaphor. Next, it explicitly states that the Buddha then told these assembled people, "Today I will briefly tell you the names of the Buddhas of the 3 times." Here it says names, and sometimes it's referred to as titles, but they mean the same thing. Usually when we write it out, the word name seems a bit too plain. For example, the names of the Buddhas, the names of the Buddhas of the 3 times. Now, sometimes when I translate, I wonder if it's a bit too plain. But actually, the ancients used both terms, both titles and names. The Buddha said, "Let me first tell you one, the significant and revered titles of the Buddhas of the 3 times. This particular teaching is indeed very meaningful and holds deep significance, because as I just mentioned earlier, in fact, there are 325 Buddha titles listed here. Of course, in our Buddhist scriptures, there may be quite a few discrepancies in some places. When we match them one by one later, there will also be some differences. Because in Tibetan, there are some Buddha titles that do not appear in the Chinese texts. And some in the Chinese text, there are discrepancies in the Tibetan versions. When I compared them before, this kind of situation did occur. So what exactly are the titles of the Buddhas of the 3 times? We will study them one by one when the time comes. So what exactly is discussed next in this context? If a person merely hears the sacred name of a Buddha, and this profound act of hearing simply passes through their ear, just hearing it briefly and momentarily by the ear without any deeper engagement or understanding, for example, you hear by your ear the sound of Namo Shakyamuni Buddha or Namo Medicine Buddha, Namo Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. This is the revered name of a compassionate and enlightened being, a Bodhisattva or Akshobhya Buddha or Amitabha Buddha, sacred names of profound spiritual significance like these. When this person reaches the end of their life, not only will they not fall into the realms of hell, hungry ghosts or animals, they may even be reborn in heavenly realms higher than the human world. So just hearing the name of a Buddha is actually very important. In the past, in Chinese Buddhism, a truly great deal of significant importance was actually placed upon the sacred names of Buddhas. For example, the revered Sutra of the names of Buddhas was translated very early on. It seems there are several different versions of it. For instance, the esteemed Bodhiruchi of the Northern Wei dynasty, as well as many other prominent translators who came later, all produced distinctly different translations. This clearly shows that many people also attached special and significant importance to it. In fact, such emphasis is also very meaningful. In Chinese Buddhism, especially in the Pure Land school, places particular emphasis on reciting the holy name of Amitabha Buddha. Other schools also frequently recite the names of Buddhas. when reciting the Buddha's name. There are also various different methods of chanting. This is truly very meaningful indeed. For all of us who are here, if you want to recite the Buddha's name in the future, you must absolutely have this profound faith. If you truly understand its immense merits, you will naturally become interested in this aspect in the future. Sometimes I see some Buddhists, even when their children are just 2 or 3 years old, very young, they can already recite the names of many Buddhas. This kind of habit is indeed very good. If you want to change after you grow up, there will be a whole lot of wrong views, because from a young age you are in different environments with wrong views, doubts and prejudices, and all kinds of diverse opinions mixed in. But if from early childhood you have this kind of natural and ingrained habit of reciting the Buddha's name, such a deeply rooted habit, then after you have fully grown up and matured, your deeply held views will undoubtedly prove to be immensely beneficial and advantageous. Here, simply by just hearing the sacred name of the Buddha, it also inherently brings forth such truly great and profound merit. In fact, even forming even a slight connection with the Lord Buddha also brings especially great merit. There is a profound Buddhist scripture called the Sutra of not necessarily entering samadhi or seal. The name is truly hard to express, but what exactly does it say inside? What profound wisdom does it hold? If one plants even the slightest wholesome root related to the Tathagata, it will never be exhausted or diminished, and the fire of omniscient wisdom will arise. It will always truly exist eternally, forever. Earlier he also used some analogies. For example, if a single drop of water completely merges into the vast boundless ocean, it becomes indistinguishable. Then until the ocean dries up, that single drop of water will certainly not disappear either. In precisely the same way, even if deep within ourselves we continuously recite the sacred name of just one Buddha, or perhaps 2 Buddhas, or even 100 Buddhas' names, then it can truly be said that a human life in its entirety is still profoundly meaningful. After hearing this, not only do we listen, but we develop faith in the Buddha and reverence for the Buddha. Furthermore, one can write it down here. Furthermore, one can write it down throughout life. But the phrase throughout one's life isn't in the Don Huang version nor in our Tibetan version. We don't use throughout one's life. One can write it down. Not only do we hear the Buddha's name, but we also copy it down by hand and also recite the name, chanting it often, whether loudly or softly, and also prostrating. In this truly profound way, one will certainly obtain immeasurable and boundless elimination of what? The complete elimination of immeasurable, great, heavy karmic offenses of samsara, and also gain immeasurable spiritual merit, attain deeply significant, boundless blessings. So, as I mentioned the other day, some of us, before learning Buddhism, still had rather heavy karmic obstacles. Some people, even after studying Buddhism, because of their own habitual tendencies and afflictions, sometimes still experience a lot of suffering. This does happen in such cases as long as we have time. When we are in a relatively good mood, it's also very important to recite the Buddha's name more often when you feel interested. If you are interested, recite the name of Amitabha Buddha, fine. Or recite the name of Shakyamuni Buddha, also fine. Or recite Buddha names listed in Sutra of Great Liberation, or in the Sutra of Buddha names, or the Sutra of the 1,000 Buddhas of the Fortunate Aeon. Many sutras contain different Buddha names. As for these names, they truly possess great merit. Moreover, the blessing power of these Buddha names can quickly dispel all kinds of discriminating thoughts and suffering within our own mind stream. These will disappear very quickly. Otherwise, as is the case for some of us now, it really seems like we are suffering a lot. There are all sorts of issues. Some, as I mentioned a couple of days ago, are truly pains that you have no choice but to face. But for some, if your mind is pure, they really don't count as suffering at all. But because of our own worries and conceptual thoughts, we often turn it into something quite painful. In this particular way, throughout an entire day or even a whole lifetime, sometimes we humans experience a great deal of suffering. This is actually completely unnecessary. Sometimes when I truly look at us humans, our thoughts are incredibly complicated, and so too are our communities and societies. If you haven't cultivated yourself well, life can truly be quite complicated like this. It's just like we very often say, being as simple-minded as a yak. Before I was 16, I herded yaks every day. Now, when I sometimes look back, the mindset of those yaks, sometimes, can I put it this way, is actually even more pure than ours as humans. Because in the past, and even now, I still have quite strong habitual tendencies. When I see a large herd of yaks on the vast mountain, sometimes I simply observe their lives from the side, because their suffering mainly comes perhaps from the very beginning, sometimes from some conflicts with other species, and sometimes from not being able to fully satisfy their basic desires, things like that. But for the most part, as long as they have plenty of fresh grass to eat and clean water to drink, they're basically in a very happy and contented state. It's truly remarkable how their daily routine unfolds. The grass they eat during the day provides them with ample nourishment, and at night they can comfortably ruminate and thoroughly digest their food before they start eating again. But when they're eating, they look especially content and truly happy, always like that, truly. When they get up in the morning, some yaks don't even move all night long. In the morning, they get up and go to the mountain to graze again. It's as if they have this quality of a good practitioner, living in a very disciplined way. But as for us humans, sometimes we get jealous over this or that and get upset about things. And when we talk about it, it's because we humans can speak after all. Yaks, when they communicate, it's just a simple mumu. Other than that, there's not much else. Their imagination isn't that rich, and their ability to express themselves isn't that strong either. So the pain they really experience isn't that very acute. For example, sometimes if you hit its backside with a stone, it doesn't move, stays like that. We humans aren't like that. If someone steps on us or does something minor, we start to hold it in our hearts. Of course, this analogy might not be entirely appropriate. I also know that humans are highly advanced and truly remarkable and innovative inventors, but sometimes the profound suffering that we as humans experience is more often than not mostly self-inflicted. If we want to truly resolve this deep suffering completely today, it takes a lot of hard effort and dedication. So whether through Buddhist teachings we reduce suffering significantly by improving our own ability to learn effectively, reducing suffering is something that all of humanity is very concerned about nowadays. Of course, sometimes we find it really difficult to completely eliminate suffering right now. It truly is a bit challenging indeed, especially after the significant outbreak of the global pandemic this year. It has become even more difficult. No matter which country it is, it's been an incredibly challenging and difficult period for everyone across the globe. And now in places where the situation has become even more severe and critical, such as in prominent nations like the United States and India, their entire populations are facing unprecedented hardships and immense pressure. Whether the news reports are accurate or not, we don't know. But if they are, the number of cases has indeed skyrocketed. And up to now, it still hasn't been fully brought under control. Places like India and Nepal has been struggling from the beginning of this year until now. It's been very, very hard to endure all along this difficult period. I've heard that many people have even tragically died of starvation. There are also some people who have been begging everywhere for food. But even places to beg are gone, and later on, someone told me the other day, there was a family with 4 or 5 children, it really seemed indeed, who went everywhere to beg, but in the end they still had nothing to eat. Later, the mother meticulously made a large pot of warm, comforting porridge. Then, with sinister intent, she carefully put some potent, deadly poison into the prepared porridge. The entire unsuspecting family was tragically dead by the very next day. They all drank the thin, poisoned porridge that fateful night, and by the dawn of the next day, their lives had been cruelly extinguished. This was even reported in their news. And there are other cases too. For example, some elderly people in Nepal and India, while the young people still went to Malaysia and Indonesia to work in those places. But later, because the borders between countries were closed, there was nothing they could do. So many elderly people also starved to death. Now it's the same in other countries as well. Looking at it, it's really true. The most crucial and troublesome thing is, there used to be a relatively normal, quite ordinary life, but later, perhaps very much because of significant deep-seated emotional reasons, because of the ongoing pandemic, because of all sorts of challenging circumstances in just a very short period of time, their lives changed quite dramatically. In the end, they truly had no other choice but to unfortunately become homeless. I've heard that now in certain parts of New York, USA, the current unemployment rate is extremely high, indeed historically high, a truly significant concern.
And then in various places, there are some individuals experiencing homelessness. During the daylight hours, in an effort to pretend they have regular jobs, they still dress quite similarly to ordinary working people. However, as night falls, they find themselves with absolutely nowhere safe or warm to stay at all. So, as a result, they are restricted to staying only in train station restrooms and in numerous other truly unimaginable and often unsanitary places. Some of them are actually very talented. For example, some used to be teachers, some used to be technical staff, or had other very good jobs. But later they had no choice. They were forced by life. Some individuals lost all their family members because of the devastating pandemic, or tragically, they lost their jobs. Without a stable job, they simply couldn't pay the rent. Now, in many Western countries, it is common that the most critical issue is that people can't afford rent. They also can't easily find work for themselves on their own. And the whole job market has transformed a lot. So if you want to stay happy in this circumstance, it might actually be extremely difficult. If you don't have a certain high level of mental state, it really is hard. It's that maybe some Buddhist teachings, contemplation, impermanence, suffering, samsara, karma, its effects, might actually be helpful to you. Perhaps you might not choose suicide or the absolute worst possible option, a very dire situation. But for some people, it's already hopeless. There's nothing they can do. Life has already truly pushed you to this very point. At this particular time, maybe the people who are around you aren't quite the same as they used to be. People are just very realistic. In the past, when you truly had status, considerable wealth, widespread fame, and genuinely good looks, when things were going well for you in every single aspect, everyone would eagerly rush to get close to you. But once all of that, when everything is completely and utterly lost, even the people who are closest to you might end up leaving you far behind. If we want to truly resolve this deep suffering completely today, it takes a lot of hard effort and dedication. So whether through Buddhist teachings we reduce suffering significantly by improving our own ability to learn effectively, maybe for a period in the past, everyone indeed wondered whether AI robots would potentially indeed take all of our jobs. But no one had expected that this global pandemic, so incredibly ruthless, so utterly terrifying. On the one hand, it has truly indeed actually taken away nearly approximately 1 million many lives around the world. At the same time, for a significant number of individuals across various communities and diverse cultures in our contemporary globalized world, their entire lives, their jobs, their beloved families, and even their current moods have all collectively suffered profound and enduring wounds that are truly difficult to heal. As for when humanity will eventually, we will just really recover from this, it's hard to say. When exactly will we be able to fully rebuild our homes and truly recover from this? That's also incredibly hard to definitively say. So now many people have probably started to deeply feel the profound impermanence of life itself. In Buddhism, it is often said that all phenomena are impermanent. They are like dreams, illusions, bubbles, and shadows, and so on. But in reality, things change even faster than dreams, illusions, or bubbles. This morning, everything might be fine, but by the afternoon, someone may no longer be in this world. In the first half of the year, a family might be doing very well, but in the second half, who knows what it might become. Everyone should be aware of this. So sometimes if we have even just a little bit of Buddhist understanding and truly practice a bit in our hearts, it becomes especially truly and profoundly useful at times like these, since we ourselves have not cultivated much practice or spiritual development. Sometimes we really need it. For those who are in remote places or sentient beings whose karma is manifesting, even if they just hear the names of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, perhaps the karmic results of this present life cannot be truly and easily reversed, because when karma truly manifests, even the Buddha's miraculous hands are utterly powerless. But if in this present life they hear the sacred names of Buddhas or the names of such precious Dharma treasures, perhaps in their very next life, they truly won't ever become such truly pitiful, utterly impoverished, and deeply fearful individuals experiencing such profound despair. So sometimes when we ourselves are a little happier, we think, this isn't right. That isn't right. And our mindset is full of all kinds of conceptual thoughts, but actually this shouldn't be the case. We should truly broaden our perspective and carefully look at the entire world, at all the numerous little things that happen in this vast and intricate world. If we turn around and reflect on ourselves, you haven't actually gotten this particular illness yet. And if all aspects of your family life are relatively complete, then, at least for now, things are fine. Of course, if we look at it from the ultimate perspective, this is how I see it. Within the three realms of samsara, there is nothing truly reliable. Everyone should mentally prepare themselves for this reality. No matter how successful, how wealthy, or how happy you are now, whatever reaches its peak will inevitably fall. Whatever gathers will eventually disperse. Whatever accumulates will ultimately be exhausted. So nothing escapes these four extremes. Many phenomena, in the end, are just as described in the 400 verses on the middle way. There is nothing permanent in this world. If there is nothing permanent, then everything is impermanent. And if things are impermanent, then there is no happiness found. All that is impermanent is suffering. Everyone should be absolutely clear about this important concept as well. Yesterday I went to a hospital that we had built in our local area, and next to it there is a beautiful prayer wheel and a serene Buddha hall. They specifically asked me to perform a significant consecration ceremony, so I respectfully went inside for a little while. The very first year I was newly ordained, in the memorable year of 1984, I was actually living in the comfortable home of an elderly, kind person at that particular time. Back then, when Khenpo was teaching the words of my perfect teacher, I went there again yesterday. Nearby there is a serene prayer hall and a beautifully adorned prayer wheel. When I went to perform the consecration, I saw the old wall right next to me. I thought, more than 30 long years ago, this very place had living people, bustling houses, and everything you could possibly imagine. But today, sadly, it has become like this. And nowadays, and we all know that, just as Longchenpa said, everything in this world today, in the end, ultimately, will amount to nothing more than this exactly. In Longchenpa's famous finding comfort and ease in the illusoriness of things, in the wish-fulfilling treasure, and in finding comfort and ease in the nature of mind, what do they all say? All these people in the world today, in another 100 years, almost none will remain. In several ancient treatises, the very same words are consistently used to describe this particular concept. So regarding this profound impermanence, all of us gathered here today, in the process of our practice, should not treat all sorts of worldly matters as if they are truly everlasting or that we are truly immortal beings. We absolutely shouldn't think in this particular way. This inherent impermanence, it can truly manifest before us at any given moment. Each and every one of us should indeed be fully prepared in every single aspect. I'm not even sure where I started talking from just now, but now I've ended up talking about impermanence. Sometimes when I go out driving, I don't really know. I just keep driving wherever there's a road. And when I finally reach a dead end, I turn back. So now I've come back. What I truly mean is, it's like undertaking a complete round trip, and then the profound merit of the Buddha's sacred name is truly immense. When these devoted people reach the very end of their earthly lives, they can be reborn into any of the countless worlds in the 10 directions precisely as they wish. As in whichever pure land you wish to go to, whether it's Shambhala or the land of joyful manifestation, or the pure land of ultimate bliss, you can be reborn there as you truly and sincerely wish. You can also clearly see Shakyamuni Buddha, see me, and also see the many thousand Buddhas of the future fortunate eon. In His Holiness's, the quintessence of oceanic prayers of aspiration, it is clearly stated that there are also 996 other Buddhas. All of these you will certainly be able to perceive in the future. So whether it's the immense merit of the Buddha's sacred name or the merit of the Buddha himself, I've only mentioned a little. At this very moment, the world-honored one with great solemnity told the entire assembly, "You should properly arrange your clothing and adornments indeed, and listen to the Dharma with a correct mind, correct posture, right recollection, right mindfulness, and right contemplation." As for a correct mind, as we mentioned earlier, it means a mind that is not distracted. For correct posture, the body should be upright and proper. Generally speaking, a person's physical posture can also very clearly reflect their current state of mind, because the mind directs the body. So if your body, when we attend a class, for example, some people listen with great focus. Basically, for an hour, they maintain the same posture. At most, just taking some notes, that's all. But sometimes within just an hour, there might be 100 distinct movements or noticeable changes. Fidgeting like this, then doing that for a little while, especially for those who are new to listening to the Dharma, it's true that they can't sit still, and that's understandable. They stretch out their legs, then pull them back in, then slowly stretch out the other leg, then gently move their hands and tilt their head in this manner like this, constantly doing all sorts of things over there. Almost like practicing yoga regularly daily. As for the physical body position, actually, sitting upright straight is good too. As long as your posture is not scattered or restless unnecessarily, that's very important indeed, truly, no matter what you're doing at all. Then, having a right recollection, right mindfulness, and right contemplation. This has basically already been quite discussed earlier. Your entire recollection, your profound thoughts, your deep contemplation, none of them are scattered or dispersed. All are focused single-mindedly and with great concentration. So, those individuals who are truly willing to listen to the sacred Dharma in this particular way should indeed pay homage to the following venerable names of the Buddhas. Here, among the Buddhas of the 3 times, the representative Buddhas are mentioned. There are also some specific names of individual Buddhas. We will briefly explain these to everyone as well. First and foremost, let us now discuss paying profound and sincere homage to the revered Bhagavan Lamp, that is the king of Sumeru. For Bhagavan Lamp, that is the king of Sumeru. When we carefully studied the Vimalakirti Sutra last year, there was an occasion when in Vimalakirti's house, there were actually no lion thrones at all. Later, from the Bhagavan Lamp, that is the king of Sumeru in the east, which is borrowed a total of 32,000 Dharma seats indeed. He clearly stated that there was absolutely no problem at all with the act of borrowing them. Therefore, this particular Buddha truly appears to be a very sincere and benevolent Buddha who is simply lending things out. Of course, I think layman Vimalakirti, well, after borrowing, would definitely return them. Nowadays, many people, after borrowing something, never return it. And when you go to ask for it back later, it feels like you have to snatch it, and both sides end up unhappy. But this Buddha lamp that is the king of Sumeru in the Vimalakirti Sutra is also quite remarkably impressive. He readily agreed to absolutely everything. Just yesterday, at a significant hospital ceremony, they found themselves in urgent need of some additional stools. When they subsequently went to a nearby local school, which was conveniently located close by, the school leaders said they wouldn't lend them out. They wouldn't even lend 100 stools. They said, "Why, what should we do? They won't lend them." They asked if I could say something about it. I said it would be even more inconvenient. It's best not to do that. Otherwise, the situation would just get more complicated. So sometimes even a small matter like this, but maybe there are reasons for not lending them. For certain things, if you just casually lend them out to others, they might not truly cherish them as much. Not everything has to be lent out. But if you do borrow something from someone, you have to learn to return it promptly always. This is still very important indeed today, including when we borrow books specifically. I used to be very serious and careful about borrowing books properly. Just a few days ago, I borrowed some books from a few places, and after I finished reading them, they were materials related to the Sutra of the Original Vows of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, and after I finished reading, I made sure to return them as soon as possible. There are still a few I haven't returned yet. I don't even remember clearly where I borrowed them from anymore today, and now I really can't find them anywhere at all. Maybe those people think I'm really bad for not returning them promptly. If so, just come find me when the right time comes eventually. Otherwise, I'll forget where I borrowed them from. But I've returned most of them, almost all of them in fact. We used to have an old Khenpo Sodargye. When we went to borrow books from him, he absolutely refused to lend out his books. Back then, we didn't have any books and really wanted to read them. He had a very especially huge pile of books at home. If you asked around, people would always say, Khenpo Sodargye indeed has them. One time I went and asked if I could borrow some. He said, no, I won't lend them to you people. He said, after you borrow them, you never return them. I won't lend them. When I was diligently building my wooden plank house, I was very focused. There was an old lama here on our side. He had a saw, an axe, and other tools. I went to borrow them again, asking, could you lend them to me? I said, I need those tools to build my house. He clearly said, no, I absolutely won't lend them. My memory is still very good indeed now. Homage to the Buddha Maniraja. Speaking of the Buddha Maniraja, there is a sacred scripture called the ancient Mahavaipulya Dharan Sutra text, in which he once was a great powerful king named Precious Sandalwood King clearly. At that particular time period exactly, it seems that Shakyamuni Buddha was his younger brother then. The Precious Sandalwood King had many sons. One of his young sons, it seems clearly evident today, gradually over time later on. His reincarnation was apparently a devoted monk named Bhikshu Thundersound, specifically at that time period. When he was severely disturbed by some powerful demon kings, he would loudly and clearly recite the sacred names of the three jewels. At that particular time, when his beloved son recited in this very distinct and audible way, the precious sandalwood king mentioned earlier, who is now our precious Manaraja, the Buddha, because of such karmic connections from his past life, then sent bodhisattvas to dispel the obstacles caused by demons. There was such a thing. So this revered Buddha, especially when devoutly recited, is remarkably powerful and highly effective in dispelling all manner of malevolent and demonic beings, because the power of some bodhisattvas' vows is actually quite different. For example, in His Holiness's Vajrakilaya Gurkhukma, at the conclusion of the Phurba Vajra empowerment ritual, it clearly states that simply receiving this empowerment enables one to overcome obstacles and adverse conditions, and also to swiftly and completely accomplish all wishes and desires. It specifically mentions two distinct and significant aspects of merit at the very end. So, much like the powerful Phurba Vajra, which is also known as Vajrakila, he possesses such profound functions. He has the function of removing obstacles during the practice process. Such a power of blessing, as well as the fulfillment of one's own wishes. It's just like the name of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. So this Buddha is indeed very powerful in subduing demons. Next, we respectfully pay homage to Ratnaketu Buddha. As we mentioned before, this is the Ratnashikin Buddha. It is also mentioned in other sutras that whenever the name of Ratnashikin Buddha is especially heard by sentient beings in the animal realm, then that being will never again fall into the lower realms. There is also the Mahayana vast and expansive Buddha Crown Sutra, a profound and significant text, which describes many of this Buddha's merits, the merits of Ratnashikin Buddha or Ratnaketu Buddha. We talked about this in the last class. Why Ratnaketu Buddha or Ratnashikin Buddha? Top knot is more suitable, but victory also incomparable, perhaps meaning the supreme one. At that time it was a translation of the meaning, not a literal translation. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. Amitabha Buddha, everyone should certainly know about him, I believe. Reciting the name of Amitabha Buddha can truly eliminate all the heavy karmic offenses of indeed 80 billion lifetimes of birth and death. The merit is extremely great. Homage to Vipashin Buddha. Vipashin Buddha is the first Buddha of our fortunate aeon. As everyone universally knows, he is indeed the very first Buddha among the countless thousand Buddhas of the fortunate aeon. Shakyamuni Buddha is specifically the fourth Buddha. He is also, as explicitly mentioned in some sacred sutras, was prophesied by Dipankara Buddha 91 aeons ago. And in some other sutras it is said that in the distant past, Shakyamuni Buddha, when he had become a very small child, saw the venerable Vipashin Buddha coming from afar to humbly beg for alms. At that particular time, he carefully took out 7 small peas from his humble bag and respectfully offered them to the venerable Vipashin Buddha. Because of this generous act, he became a king of the 33 heavens and a universal monarch in the world, and so on. Many significant merits were described, all originating from the 7 peas. So sometimes when we make offerings to the Sangha or to the Buddha, even if it truly seems like a very small amount, in reality, the immense merit from such generous giving is also extremely great and significant indeed, and profoundly impactful. Homage to Prabhutaratna Buddha, Prabhutaratna Tathagata. Everyone should be familiar with this. When we talk about the Lotus Sutra, it should be in the 11th chapter, the appearance of the jeweled stupa chapter. This chapter mentions Prabhutaratna Tathagata. Whoever hears the name of Prabhutaratna Tathagata will plant extremely good roots of virtue in their mind stream. Also, whoever propagates the Lotus Sutra with sincere devotion and faith, Prabhutaratna Tathagata will appear before them in person or use his blessing power to help them succeed in their propagation efforts completely. At that time, Prabhutaratna Tathagata appeared from the earth several times. Then, a significant portion of his seat was graciously and respectfully given to the revered Shakyamuni Buddha. There are many truly wonderful stories about this. This is Prabhutaratna Tathagata. Next, we pay homage to Shakyamuni Buddha. I won't elaborate on Shakyamuni Buddha, otherwise, I think if you don't know the merits of Shakyamuni Buddha's name, then those attending the lecture here today might not be true Buddhists. They might be attending the lecture for other reasons, so I don't need to explain this further than this. Now then, moving on to the next following parts. These are actually the sacred names of various different Buddhas, but on the surface it truly seems as if they possess some profound doctrinal meaning, at least to many observers. In fact, indeed, the following content should be found clearly today by all students in the Treasury of the Lion's Roar text, written by Master Jizang long ago in ancient times, where there are some literal explanations provided in detail with great care. In the Sutra of the names of the Buddhas, many of the Buddha names are explained very clearly. For example, as we mention here, we pay homage to Bhagavan, collector and upholder of all Dharma. Actually, later on, there is the Buddha who collector and upholder of all Dharma, the Tathagata. In the Tibetan version as well, there is a guide mentioned at the beginning. In fact, each of the following names refers to a different Buddha. So, to which Buddha are we paying homage? It is to the Buddha who upholds all dharmas, this particular Buddha. Among all the various things in the world, this is a Buddha who truly knows everything, who is an all-knowing being. So, whom should we prostrate to? We prostrate to the Buddha who upholds all phenomena. We pay homage to the one who expression beyond measure. As everyone knows very well today, measure usually refers to weight and mass, while length refers to distance or extent in space. We pay homage to the Buddha whose expression is beyond measure itself completely. This means that our ways of measuring things are actually just worldly conventions. But if one transcends all forms of measurement, then that is beyond the worldly and should transcend all conceptual labels. It is to transcend all kinds of worldly, conventional dharmas, and we truly prostrate before such a greatly revered Buddha. We pay homage to the unequaled Buddha who is without equal, to his qualities. There is no way to find a comparison for this in our world. In the world, we usually use analogies to describe things. For example, we might say something is like the king of mountains, or that something is as vast as the sky. But the Buddha's qualities are so vast that there is no way to explain them with analogies. We pay homage with deep reverence and devotion to the Buddha of boundless Dharma here today. Worldly phenomena are, in fact, limited by nature itself, but the Buddha's qualities are boundless and infinite. Therefore, we humbly pay homage to the Buddha of boundless and infinite qualities. We reverently pay homage to the difficult to be encompassed by thought. Any phenomenon in our world, in fact, these profound concepts can certainly be contemplated and thoroughly discussed by those who seek understanding. However, the truly sublime qualities of the Buddha fundamentally transcend the limitations of both ordinary human thought and conventional speech. All of these things are truly beyond the very realm of our current conceptual thinking and our limited language. We make prostrations before such a Buddha. We pay homage to the strongest of the strong who abides in strength. If these words are not explained, there are three powers listed together, and perhaps some people may not fully understand them. So what kind of Buddha do we pay homage to? This Buddha possesses immense power. He abides within power. These are the Buddha's qualities. And then the power within power. That is to say, among gods, he is the God of gods. Among humans, the supreme among men. The greatest and most supreme power among all existing powers. What exactly does this truly mean? Does it refer to so-called strong men or the physically powerful? Actually, that's not entirely the case. Here, in fact, there is the profound power of wisdom, the immense power of compassion, the physical power of the body, and the significant power of a truly virtuous mind. There are all kinds of powers, including even the formidable power of demons. There are good powers and there are also bad powers. You see, some people have very strong mental strength. Some individuals possess fairly good physical strength, but in this particular case, the Buddha primarily relies on wisdom and profound compassion. His immense power, among all the formidable powers in the entire world, truly cannot be matched by any other. It significantly surpasses all demonic power and genuinely transcends all other conceivable powers. We have talked about this before as well. His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok often spoke about this. The power to purify all virtuous deeds, the power to destroy all afflictions, the power to subdue all demons, and the power to perfect all the practices of Samantabhadra. This verse is also mainly about power. When we diligently practice, our inherent virtuous power must continuously and steadily increase. Conversely, the power of all afflictions must be effectively subdued, and any malevolent demonic power must be completely destroyed. And also the power of the King of Aspiration prayers must be continuously perfected and enhanced. We really need this. In the King of Aspiration prayers, there are many other kinds of power as well. But His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok often used these 4 lines for practice. We do exactly the same. The power of the Buddha is also incredibly strong and profound. I think it mainly refers to the immense power of wisdom and compassion, which are fundamental aspects. As for physical strength, it's perfectly fine whether it's truly great or perhaps not so great at all. I genuinely think that having a truly great and powerful virtuous mind is indeed very good and highly beneficial. Each of us has different levels of strength. It's really true. For example, among those who have generated bodhicitta, some have very strong mental strength. No matter what significant challenges they may encounter, they absolutely won't become discouraged or disheartened because of it. They certainly don't think to themselves, oh no, something unfortunate has happened again today. Should I just simply end my life? It's really impossible to go on living in this world now. Look at these people, every single one of them is bad. They all see me as something or other. Actually, in this world, things may not have changed that much. But when your mental strength is especially weak, you may feel like there is absolutely no hope in many aspects of life. If your mind is strong, then indeed whatever the external world brings you, all kinds of utter destruction, you might actually be able to withstand it. So sometimes our mental strength, I truly think that no matter what a person actually does, whether it's spiritual practice or spreading the Dharma to benefit others, or even just living an ordinary, simple family life in the mundane world, the strength of the mind is very important. If your mental strength is quite relatively strong, even if it's not truly that strong, but at the very least passable, you might be able to live more happily. If the strength of our mind is especially fragile, then all these things in the world, they all seem to be targeting you. Whether it's people, significant events, or anything else, it might really be very hard to truly endure in this world. If you genuinely feel like you want to end your life, I think, well, maybe take another look at things. If your mental strength is especially weak, there's nothing you can do. But if your mental strength is a bit stronger, then no matter what happens, you can still handle it. This strength of mind really, but the strength of mind, just saying, I truly want to be strong, I genuinely want to be strong, doesn't necessarily make you strong. So now, in our modern phones, there's this particular symbol. This specific symbol is widely said to mean strength. But in our Tibetan region, it means thank you. Usually, when we use this phrase in daily life, it just means thank you very much. For example, some beggars often come up to you, begging, asking you to give them a little something right now. Kajo refers to this specific gesture exactly, but you all might not know that. Now, on many modern phones, it clearly represents good, but it truly seems that good and this, if you are indeed strong, it genuinely means people are saying you are strong, right? If I were truly strong, beggars certainly wouldn't act in this manner. Whenever you see this, when beggars do this, it means you are very strong. But for us, we often say, begging, kajuo. That's what it means. Just now it was reside in strength among strength. Pay homage to the 10 powers who are fearless. The 10 powers are also completely without fear. And also pay homage with sincere devotion and respect to the Buddha, the honored one of the 3 realms above all. As for the latter part here today, we've studied it before in detail. In the Buddha Lands chapter of the Vimalakirti Sutra, at the beginning of every section in the Buddha Lands chapter, it starts with homage to and so on. You can take a look at this when it's convenient for you. But in the Vimalakirti Sutra, it's not very obvious. The word Buddha is not added at the end. In the revered Sutra of Buddha names, the term Buddha is consistently added at the end. Actually, these profound teachings, on one hand, you could say the accumulated merits within the Buddha's spiritual mind stream can be used interchangeably. But on the other hand, more importantly, each and every one is a Buddha. However, perhaps in the original Sanskrit, the actual word Buddha is not so obvious. But in some specific cases, because the Tibetan and Chinese versions are basically the same, the word Buddha is not explicitly added at the end. But if we reason based on other sutras, these should all be considered the sacred names of various different enlightened Buddhas, or perhaps they profoundly represent their inherent and boundless qualities. Homage to the great teacher who leads everyone, the compassionate and wise Buddhas who meticulously guide all sentient beings. Homage to the one who can breaker of all bonds, the one who can eliminate all afflictions, such as the bonds and fetters described in the Abhidharmakosha. Homage to the gone to the limits of the far shore, the Buddha who has already reached the other shore. Homage to the already passed beyond all worlds, the enlightened Buddha who has already completely liberated all worlds. Homage to the completely separated from the continuum of samsara, the Buddha who is eternally free from samsara. homage to the complete liberation through samadhi. Samadhi is also an accomplishment, the Buddha who has already attained liberation. Homage to the unobservable like space without any support. The Buddha's profound qualities, in fact, do not truly rely on anything, as explicitly stated in the Avatamsaka Sutra. If you wish to know the minds of all Buddhas, observe the wisdom of the Buddha. The Buddha's wisdom is without any support, like space, relying on nothing. The Buddha's wisdom has no basis or support. Just like empty space, it does not depend on anything. Here as well, one can pay homage from the perspective of the Buddha's wisdom, or one can say to pay homage before the Buddha. Homage to the King of Dharma among the multitudes, homage to all present. The King of Dharma, truly supreme among all kinds of assemblies and gatherings, is also explicitly stated in the Venerable Infinite Life Sutra as it is written. The Buddha is the King of Dharma, supreme among all sages. The Buddha is truly indeed the great and supreme King of Dharma in our human world on this earth, completely and truly surpassing all other competitors, including even Bodhisattvas who have attained the grounds and so on. So here, the great King of Dharma, homage to the destroyer of the collection of four maras, the one who overcomes the four kinds of maras. That day, we talked about the mara of the heavens, the mara of death, the mara of the aggregates, and the mara of afflictions. Such a Buddha who destroys the four maras. Homage to the great love, like that of a father for his only son. His boundless compassion is truly like the deep mercy a loving father has for his cherished only child. Such a magnificent Buddha, as described above. Here it says very clearly today, homage to these Buddhas with devotion. May it be so in every lifetime we live. The following sentence here should be considered a prayer of aspiration indeed. When we recite and pay homage to these Buddhas, what kind of aspiration should we make afterwards? We should aspire to encounter these Buddhas in every lifetime, including the previously mentioned Amitabha Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha, or the Tathagata with the jeweled topknot, to be able to see these Buddhas in every lifetime. But merely seeing the Buddha is not enough. It should truly be about realizing the mind and seeing the Buddha. Some of us often say, I want to see the Guru, but just seeing the Guru doesn't mean much. The most important thing is to recognize your own mind. You truly need to learn some essential Dharma. So generally speaking, I honestly don't think just merely meeting is particularly important either, especially during the recent global pandemic. Meeting anyone at all is simply not truly beneficial for either side involved. Meeting this person or that person is not good. But the most important thing is to realize your true nature. That should be possible. You can listen to a teaching or read a Dharma text. Since this pandemic, I often don't meet people. A lot of people have strong opinions about me because of this. But there's nothing I can do about their opinions. Whether you meet them or not now, that person is still there waiting. It's best to focus on practicing well yourself diligently, because meeting people is actually quite exhausting, right indeed. So for each of us, it's best to focus on our own practice sincerely. Other things are meaningless. Even if you meet, there's nothing much to say. A meeting doesn't really have much significance either. The most important thing is that seeing the Dharma is truly very important indeed. Seeing your own mind is very important. And then meeting with the Sangha community in person. Actually, nowadays people don't pay much attention to the Buddha at all anymore. They don't value the Dharma teachings either. And among the Sangha members today, they don't value the community of monks, only individuals. This is the kind of era we're in. Logically speaking, the Dharma is very important and should be valued. Seeing the Dharma brings great joy. Seeing so many members of the Sangha, today I witnessed a rather large gathering of the Sangha. I thought to myself, even in the degenerate age of the Dharma, it's still quite remarkable to have so many members of the Sangha. So sometimes when we reverently see the Sangha, we should make sincere aspirations and offer our heartfelt prayers. This is indeed very important. As for individuals, if the person has merit, it's fine to meet them. However, if the individual truly possesses no inherent merit, then meeting with them is completely and utterly meaningless. For someone such as myself, to be entirely honest, meeting each other in this particular manner is also profoundly meaningless. Some of us nowadays have very confused minds. We avoid those we should meet and seek out those we shouldn't. And we place great importance on this wherever we go, wanting to meet this person or that person. Perhaps this is influenced by some movies these days, where we see all sorts of things happening. There are some reasons like this. So I think that in the future for us, realizing our true nature is important, seeing the Buddha is important, meeting the Sangha is important. When encounter monastic community, even if it's just 4 or more monks, you should always show profound respect, diligently make sincere prostrations, and earnestly make aspirations. This practice is indeed very important. This is truly called a crucial key instruction, you know. Seeing Buddha nature truly leads to attaining the ultimate state of great nirvana. Why is this so? All that has form possesses Buddha nature. All sentient beings, indeed all living beings, without exception, possess the inherent and profound Buddha nature. If one genuinely gives rise to diligent and persistent effort, then all can certainly attain the unsurpassed and ultimate enlightenment. This profound truth is precisely what is taught and expounded in the revered Bodhicaryavatara. This includes all mosquitoes, tiny gnats, industrious bees, and likewise all various kinds of insects and even the smallest maggots. If they give rise to a truly diligent mind, they will all certainly attain the supreme and ultimate result. So in essence, we all inherently possess Buddha nature. This is the reason why. Next, actually, in the Tibetan text below, this particular word serves as a crucial kind of connecting word. Before this, there is a distinct vocative word O, which means all of you here present, all the listeners gathered together. At that time, with palms joined and wholeheartedly with reverence, the Buddha addressed all the assembled people in this way very clearly. Earlier, the merits were discussed, and now it is said very definitely that I also wanted to mention just now that we all possess the inherent Buddha nature, the true essence within us. Also in the parinirvana Sutra, it is stated that although all beings in the 5 distinct realms receive different physical bodies, their fundamental Buddha nature truly remains ever the same and utterly unchanging. Among the sentient beings in the 6 realms, our bodies are all different, but in reality, Buddha nature does not actually ever change. Even if you become a human or entirely transform into another kind of animal, the Buddha nature remains the same. Buddha said, all of you, the assembled people, you should gently put your 10 fingers together in a gesture of deep respect and then listen single-mindedly and make offerings with a truly focused mind. How should you listen attentively? The content to be listened to is as follows. Next, in Tibetan, this is also a verse. Listen as I recite the names of the Buddhas of the 3 times and 10 directions. In this way, even the 5 heinous crimes with immediate retribution can be liberated in this very life. The names of the Buddhas truly are especially meaningful for those with heavy karmic burdens. Indeed, reciting this sutra is still very important, because these names of the Buddhas, if we hear them and practice accordingly, can transform even the 5 heinous crimes with immediate retribution. Generally, in the Infinite Life Sutra, regarding the 5 heinous crimes, it is said in the 18th vow that rebirth is not possible for such people. But in the Contemplation Sutra, there is hope even for those in the lowest of the 9 grades. Here, those who have committed the 5 heinous crimes also have the possibility of liberation. There is hope for them as well. If a person truly lacks virtuous roots, even if I have carefully explained this profound sutra to them, some of them, because they simply cannot fully understand it themselves, will naturally and inevitably leave, just like scorched seeds that cannot sprout. The meaning of this passage is that in front of those individuals who truly lack virtuous roots, the Buddha has also spoken, but they simply cannot comprehend it. There are indeed some who are like burnt sprouts and ruined seeds, those whose virtuous roots have been destroyed, who may leave on their own and there is nothing that can be done. That is how it is explained. But for those who have some truly virtuous roots, who have some deep-seated goodness, only true existence remains. For such people, it is still beneficial. This is one way of explaining it. There is another explanation as well. If these people lack virtuous roots, even if I explain it to them and they cannot understand, their scorched seeds, the destroyed part of the seeds, will naturally fall completely away, and the part of virtuous roots that is not destroyed truly and genuinely exists, remaining intact and truly in its entirety. If the virtuous roots are destroyed, there's a passage in the Mahayana 10 Dharmas Sutra. Unbelievers, virtuous men, give rise to wholesome dharmas, like scorched seeds sprout roots. This is their translation version. It is a bit different from the translation in the words of my perfect teacher. Such people have no hope at all of generating wholesome dharmas. However, due to the blessing of this sutra, for certain sentient beings who possess Buddha nature, it is still beneficial to them. It can be explained this way. What is the reason for this? because this Dharma removes the characteristics of the Hinayana path. Only the essential characteristics of the Mahayana still remain. In the end, even the characteristics of both Mahayana and Hinayana are removed. So what is left in the end? Only the Buddha vehicle remains. This is the ultimate principle of the one vehicle. They can also readily accept this. This is just one important aspect. If a person lacks virtuous roots, they will not be able to hear this sound. If someone doesn't have virtuous roots, whether it's this sutra or the names of these Buddhas, they won't even be able to hear them. It's impossible. But because today you have truly heard the Buddha's sacred name or the Buddhist scriptures, it truly means you have offered to countless Buddhas in the past. For this, you are able to hear the Buddha's name. Today, those present, some people might think it was just by chance, I heard Sutra of Great Liberation. But that's not the case. You have offered to countless Buddhas. Today you have the opportunity to hear the Buddha's name. There is a sutra called the Elder Dehu Sutra, which says, in general, it is extremely difficult to hear the names of Buddhas. And to develop faith in the Dharma is even harder. Usually the names of Buddhas are very hard to hear. If we are truly to develop faith in the sacred Dharma, that is even more difficult. It is truly said, those who receive and uphold it are few among those who attain true liberation. If we truly accept it, as was mentioned earlier, to genuinely receive and fully accept it, and then diligently uphold it, meaning to always remember and never, ever forget. In this way, depending on the difference between receiving and upholding, what can they all be called? They are called those who attain a small portion of liberation. If you receive it, there is liberation in receiving as well. If you truly uphold it, there is also a small, significant portion of liberation in upholding. No matter which of these two distinct types of people, they can all truly abide in a state of profound purity. Then the Buddha said, "Today, in my Dharma, I will deliver a profound teaching, practicing, performing Buddha activities, as well as receiving, upholding, reading, and reciting, and prostrating to the names of these Buddhas. If you do these things, in my teachings, there are some people who practice walking meditation. Walking meditation means walking while reciting the Buddha's name and making prostrations. This is called walking meditation. As for performing Buddha activities, it means making prostrations while engaging in various Buddha activities, as well as receiving, upholding, reciting, and prostrating to the Buddha's sacred name in our daily life. We take these revered Buddhas as our central focus, whether we ourselves prostrate, circumambulate, or to recite, to uphold, to write, and so on and so forth. All of these are included within Buddha activities and walking meditation. Whenever you take the Buddha as your focus and perform these virtuous deeds, so what kind of significant effect does it truly have? It genuinely helps you to be completely free from all evil demonic influences, so that demons cannot harm you and have no opportunity to take advantage. It also eradicates the four root downfalls. If you have previously violated the four root precepts, then reciting such Buddha names can purify all your four root precept violations. Even the offenses of avicii, hell, and ichantika, committing the 5 heinous crimes and destroying your virtuous roots, all of these can be purified one by one. Such a person in future lives will definitely attain Buddhahood. That is to say, this person will eventually achieve the path to Buddhahood in the future. This is what is explained in our tantric scriptures. A scriptural citation, masters quoted, "Killing Brahmins every day, committing the 5 heinous crimes. By this path, one attains liberation and is not tainted by negative karma." This is apparently cited in the Words of My Perfect Teacher text. At that time, when we discussed the practice of rebirth, killing every day, killing Brahmins day after day, and often committing the 5 heinous crimes, if such a person encounters this pith instruction, they will not be tainted by negative karma. Some say will not be stained by negative karma, while others say they will attain liberation without any doubt. Perhaps the translations differ a little. So let's think about it, everyone here. Well, we know that in this world, it's impossible not to create negative karma, right? But we really need to effectively dispel the hosts of malevolent demons and thoroughly purify some of the significant breaches in our sacred vows and precepts, as well as the 5 heinous crimes and even the near 5 heinous crimes. If one completely destroys their virtuous roots, An ichantika might be someone who is an extremely serious wrongdoer. Isn't it wrong conduct in the Tibetan text? Karmic inversion, someone who commits every possible evil, someone who used to have faith but later lost faith. Among people nowadays, especially wicked, they could be called ichantikas. It seems they don't have even a trace of virtuous roots. Some of us, for example, have family members kind-hearted. But this person doesn't have virtuous roots at all whatsoever, not a single good quality within them. For evil, they have every vice imaginable completely. Such a person is the ichantika, being indeed. You are the ichantika in our family. And when you say the word ikantika, they truly don't even fully understand what it actually means. Imagine saying, "Hey there, ikantika, why don't you come over for a delightful dinner?" They think it actually sounds nice, as if you've given them a word of praise. All right, let's stop here for now. It seems like next, some of us really value our sleep at night. If it goes on a bit too long, you will start to see some interesting expressions. So let's just end our discussion here. I think that's perfectly fine. But let's quickly finish the very next part. It's quite simple. This brings us to another section. Let's talk for another 5 minutes. If someone does not give rise to faith, if some people do not develop faith in the three jewels, in the Buddha, originally they would definitely fall into the three lower realms. But later, because of hearing, contemplating, and practicing the teachings, because of diligence, they develop faith, diligently pay homage, see countless Buddhas. Later, through hearing, contemplating, and practicing teachings, or relying on a spiritual teacher, they develop faith in the three jewels and the Buddha, and also diligently pay homage to the Buddha themselves. In this way, in the future, they will see countless Buddhas. In many of Longchenpa's works, such as the 7 treasuries and the 4 heart drops, it is often mentioned in many places. Practicing the Dharma truly diligently day and night, this is indeed the very phrase that Longchenpa always loved to say the most. Take a look yourselves. Anyone who understands Longchenpa should be well aware of this. So I truly think that through his profound and insightful words, perhaps these truly great masters were very diligent both day and night, unlike some of us who pretend to be diligent during the day but sleep for far too long at night. However, people here nowadays, they sleep less at night, which is actually pretty good. Practicing the Dharma diligently throughout the day and also through the night. This phrase is mentioned many times by Longchenpa. So if we practice the Dharma diligently day and night, it is as if we are seeing countless Buddhas. We should wholeheartedly pay homage and aspire to eliminate countless negative deeds. Therefore, today we should pay respect to these Buddhas. And if we wholeheartedly prostrate and recite the Buddha's name, all our obstacles and negative karma will be dispelled. In this way, for all the assembly, the way this passage is explained is a little different. I will explain according to the meaning in Tibetan. As for these assembled beings, because after the Buddha finished speaking, everyone in the assembly felt great joy. Everyone present joined their palms together and listened very attentively to what was being said. Moreover, they gathered their body and mind, remaining completely undistracted. They were not in an improper state. Everyone was especially, because after the Buddha had spoken in this profound way, everyone present was deeply moved, their entire body and mind fully focused and completely absorbed. Their body and mind were very concentrated and unwavering. They remained unmoved and unwavering. Moreover, they prostrated fully to the ground, listening with utmost respect and single-minded attention. If we were to explain this in another way, there might be a slightly different approach. This passage essentially serves as a connecting text. When the Buddha spoke up to this point, everyone listened with especially joyful hearts, their body and mind fully focused, prostrating fully to the ground with great reverence and deep respect, always wholeheartedly and single-mindedly attentive, carefully listening to the Buddha's most sublime and profound teachings. That's all for today's teaching.
Bandara Banma Sodargye